Hello. So there's only, what, 6 of us. So would you do me a favor? So this is my trick from my stand-up comedy days, which I was never any good at. But just to see if anybody can find out, can we just go and cheer? No, all right, I won't make you do that. It's all right. Okay, so I'm going to talk about who can marketers trust online. So AV man, we're there. Someone's broken my computer. Right. Excuse me. Okay, I'm there. Okay. So I managed to blow the first 4 minutes, so we'll go on quite quickly. My name is Dixon Jones from Majestic. We'll find a little bit about Majestic on the course of the presentation, but we crawl 2 billion web pages a day. Twitter say there's about 500 million tweets a day. We're crawling 4 times as many pages a day as there are tweets. And I'm going to talk about a problem that I found on the internet, and it's an issue for marketers. The problem is that marketers have used cookie tracking and tracking methodologies, which has given us put us in the same bed as these kind of guys of the NSA, Google. They're all tracking in rather dubious ways. And this is something that has annoyed me over a number of years. Worried me a little bit over a number of years. And I was wondering whether marketers can start using a different approach to tracking and learning about places that they trust. Because there is a problem. And the problem is that this is a page on Mashable, and it's got an advert. And it's Yahoo finally unveils its new logo. It's got an advert from Join Me, which I'm a customer of already. And it's got an advert with Salesforce, which I'm a customer of already, because it's dropped cookies on me previously. But the point is that if I was to advertise on this page, it has a value to advertise to me at this particular point in time. And whatever that value is, in a cost per click analysis, whatever it is, it's going to be different to my state of mind on this page. Because this page is on the same website, but it's about tattoos, geeky tattoos admittedly. And up here we have an advert for O2, I'm already a customer of them, and an advert from Google, and I'm already a customer of them, and Yahoo's dropped in there as well. But the point is, if the other place was worth £1 a click, then this is worth 70p a click. How do we work out the difference? And then we go to this page over here, and again, we've got a different state of mind. Now it's not me in work mode, it's me in politics mode, and so there would be a different value to this page. And again, we've got an advert from O2, and this is the only one I'm going to click on because this is my competitor, so I'm going to charge them some money. So my point is that whatever the value is of a click at those 3 pages, they're going to be different. So store that, but ask yourself, as a marketer trying to make decisions about where to advertise and when, at scale, you're being asked to trust the network that you're paying the money to, whether it's Google AdWords or whether it's any other system. And you've got to ask yourself, are you happy with that? Does that make you smile or scream? Smile because it's easy, scream because you know somewhere deep down you're getting potentially ripped off. And it's not just the ad networks that we're being asked to trust as digital marketers, because digital marketers, we've been spreading our wings and we've been doing all sorts of other things. This is a guy called John Lawson. I met him in a presentation in Norway, and then I met him last month in Las Vegas. He obviously goes around and talks to people in the internet industry. I hadn't met him before that. Very interesting guy. Really good speaker if you get to see him. Question is, how influential is he in the digital marketing space? Well, if I go to Clout, I can see that he's got a Clout score of 66, and so that makes him more influential than me. But this Clout score of 66 and 60 probably, if I hadn't gone to check this independent source, I'd have had a look at 57,000 followers versus 8,500 followers. And if I was only using Twitter's information to make a decision, I'd probably sit there and say, I'll pay this guy $500 for a click, and this guy $100 for a click. So it's not so easy to take the information from the network and use that for your decision making. And of course, Okay, so quick little bit of audience participation then. So we'll come back to a reason for this, but on Twitter, who do you think's more influential on Twitter, according to Clout? Is it Lady Gaga or Barack Obama? Hands up if you think that Lady Gaga is more influential on Twitter than... About half of you are cynical. And how many people think that Barack Obama is about... In fact, actually 90% of you are cynical. You're the only person that trusts him. Well, I can tell you that the leader of the free world is marginally more influential on Twitter than Lady Gaga is. So we'll come back to this in a little bit. So, it's advertising networks and people. We deal with both of those as advertisers, as marketers online. But it's not just those as well. It's other digital assets as well. We're starting to get our message out through apps, through games, through all sorts of other bits and pieces. And how do we know which one is best? So this is the Chrome extension page, and this is 3 plugins on Chrome. If we analyze these, they're 3 backlink analyzers, one of which is Majestic, of course. One of them's got 2,650 reviews, all 5-star, it would appear. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's necessarily true, but the point is if you are using that as your basis of methodology, then you'd naturally say that this one was the most influential tool, and so you would want to go and make a strategic partnership with this one. But I've heard of Moz, and I've heard of Majestic, so what happens there? So the point is that there's all these digital marketing platforms, there's all these digital assets, and as marketers we're trying to get our money out in the best way, and our resources out in the best way, and there's nothing coordinating these. And we're only trusting the systems that we're being asked to pay. And there are tools that can help us. There's things like Alexa, MozTrust, PageRank. Well, not so much PageRank anymore, that's dead. Clout, all sorts of things out there. But they have some limitations, I think, as a general rule. And so the point of this presentation today is say, is there another way that we can compare digital assets at scale so that we can make better marketing decisions? So the problem, in a nutshell, is that online paid search and marketing in general is that we're not only being asked to make that decision, between Mashable and a Chrome extension, and do we talk to John Lawson or Dixon Jones, but on Mashable we're being asked to make that decision thousands of times a day as well. So we need some scalable methodology to make a decision right here, right now, at scale. Can we see 1,000 URLs and work out the relative importance of 1,000 different pages in a minute? And I think we can. So the question is, can we measure scale at trust? And the network gives us information generally about the user, or we have information ourselves about the user. And a PPC Pro, for example, has a lot of information about keyword data, so that's great. What they don't necessarily know is much about the influence of the platform on which they're about to advertise. So as I said, Majestic is a tool that crawls the internet. It's a distributed crawler. It's one of the largest on the planet. Twitter has 500,000 tweets a day on average. Majestic in the same day crawls 2 billion web pages. And in that, we see around about 7 billion URLs because every web page has a number of different links on it. So we can see a lot. So it's a big bit of technology that we've got here. What we do is we don't keep the on-page information, we keep the link relationships between all the web pages. And we use that to get some interesting insights. So we used to be an SEO company, we're now a data technology company. But what's in a link? Obviously, links are important for manipulating Google, but there's a lot more information that you can measure in a link, if you think about it. So in a link, there is information about the content, the reach, the relevance, the intent, the influence behind the link, the timeliness. Is it new content? Is it a link to new content or evergreen content? It's got meaning. Is it saying something nice? Is it saying something nasty? Is it powerful? Is it coming from the BBC or DixonJones.com? It's got context. It's got passion or lack of passion. All these things theoretically could be measured in a link. The problem is that each individual link doesn't amount to a tin of beans. But you put them all together and you get some real insight. So what Majestic does is it inherits ideas from one page to another. So this is the royal family tree. And in the royal family tree, we firstly see that the Queen today is married to a not so distant relative over here. But the point is that characteristics travel through generations just as they do through pages, we found. through links. So we have a technology called flow metrics, which takes information and takes it from one page to the next, to the next, to the next. So the analogy being that because this lady was queen of our country at the turn of the 19th century, the 20th century, sorry, then this lady is queen today, and isn't she cool? And even though this little baby doesn't know it yet, we already know what job they're going to have. We know what kind of education they're going to have. We know how rich they're likely to be. We know what kind of genes problems they're going to have. We know everything about this person, their title and everything, because of the history. And so this is the same analogy that we've taken to flow metrics. So what we've got is, if we've got a set of websites and we know how influential they are based on how many links they've come into, or because we've checked them manually or through peer review systems, then we can then flow this information. So if we've got a score for these pages over here, then we can say with reasonable certainty that this page here is probably a little bit more influential than this page over here, even though both have got 3 links going into them, because they've got more proximity to pages that we know and trust. And when you take that up to billions and billions and billions of pages, you get some really interesting information. So what we've done then is created a score for every URL on the internet, anything with any value, of 0 to 100 called trust flow. And so we can apply it to your Mashable pages, or we can, for example, apply it to Lady Gaga and Barack Obama. So if we put trust flow onto here, we can see, okay, our numbers are slightly different to Clout's, but we can also see that the leader of the free world is slightly more influential on Twitter than a lady that wears meat. We can also, for example, go and see what is the most influential tweet that Barack Obama has ever made, for example. It happens to be this one, although his time is limited now, it would seem. But then we can also take this information back to the other technologies. So if we take this back to the pages that host the Chrome extensions, we can compare those as well, so we can get trust flows for those. We can say, okay, this wasn't an official Moz application, so it's actually not so good. This one's 31, and of course I chose an example where I win. And so now we've got a number between 0 and 100 that can compare Barack Obama and a Chrome extension. And we can take hundreds, if we upload a file, you can take up to 100,000 URLs, upload it, and get data for up to 100,000 all at one time. So we can cut and paste or upload a file, and this allows us to very, very quickly measure scale. So if I put all those in there, I get my flow metrics for all of those URLs, whatever they may be. So now I'm starting to be able to measure digital assets as opposed to just PPC versus social media marketing, for example. So far we've got to the point where if I happen to sell homes in China, the only thing I've actually said is the person I should go to talk to is a lady that wears meat, which is obviously not quite right yet. So we got to that point around about 18 months ago, 2 years ago now. And so we realized that we now had an issue because we had managed to find influence on the internet, but we hadn't got context. So the first thing that we tried was to get context in there. And so rather than just finding these things, trying to find the convergence between context, the user, and influence. And the first thing that we did was we built a search engine. I know, we've got a search engine. It's not very good yet, we'll get it better. But it means that if we type in probably China, I can now start seeing what pages have the most links to them and the most influential links into them that have the anchor text, the titles, and the keywords of property China. So it's kind of like a transparent search engine because we tell you how we make the results up. But it's not really worth manipulating because we haven't got the market share of Google. So this is in alpha, and it's working okay. It's got some issues, and I think we can improve them. So when we built this, we thought we still need more information about context. Let's go and try and work out how to categorize the whole web. So what we did next, and it came out about in the summer, was really interesting. And it was so interesting that we changed our name, bought majestic.com and changed our name a little bit. We thought, right, we're measuring trust through links. What if we say, okay, instead of this seed set being sites that we know about, what about we choose a characteristic? For example, sites that are about finance. and choose that and flow that. So instead of having trust through links, have topics through links. So now you can see exactly the same methodology. If all these pages are about finance, and we've got a pretty big map of the web, the chances are this page is much more likely to be about finance than this one, because it's got closer proximity to the seed set. And when you scale that up to billions and billions and billions of web pages, 200 billion web pages, you get some really interesting information. Because what we've done is we've taken that across 800 different topics and categories, and so we've categorized the whole damned web. And it's very, very useful. So for example, with this, we already knew that Barack Obama was marginally more influential than Lady Gaga, but are either of them any good for selling properties in China? And if we overlay our topical trust flow, we can immediately see that Barack Obama is influential only in the areas of society, government, society and politics, whereas Lady Gaga, all into arts and music. None of them particularly into property. So we've now suddenly brought the data to life, we've created insight, and I think that this is going to be very, very interesting moving into 2015. It's been picked up quite a lot by a number of technologies now, but you can go to any web page, find this information out. So, another example of where this might be useful. Let's say you're trying to lobby American senators. Let's say you're a health company trying to lobby senators. This is a list of all the subdomains on senate.gov of all the senators. So now I can just put all the senators into this thing, and in half a second, I can see how influential they are in all the various different areas of topics. So if I want to go and find people that are influential in health, senators that are influential in health, these are the two I want to go to. These are the people that you should lobby. And you can do this on Mashable pages, you can do it on Chrome extensions, you can do it on any URL. And so you can now see how influential URLs are in context. And so you can compare these things together. So I think that this is something that's going to be interesting moving forward. We have got a stand, and we'd love you to go and see it and try it and stuff like that. You get your own data for free. Actually, you don't get your topical trust flow for free, but you get some data for free. But lastly, I think about measurement. What we're trying to do as well is start to measure this over time. So you go into the system, take a snapshot of where your world is, your competitors, sites you want to advertise on, wherever it may be, and then we can start seeing whether their trust increases over time or whether it drops over time. Okay. So what's in a link? Content, reach, relevance, timeliness, meaning, power, context, and passion. And I think with that, I'm nearly finished. I do believe that marketers are not being conned, but we're blindly taking the stats that are put in front of us. And I think it's time that we try and find an independent way to compare different types of marketing, different types of channels. This may or may not work as the wonderful panacea, but we think it's pretty clever. And certainly it's at least independent of all the ad networks. And I think that you need independent data when you're spending money. It helps. Digital assets come in many forms, and as marketers, we're foolish to stick with one form. My kids just use WhatsApp. I don't know what it is, but I need to know. And links, it turns out, can help us understand relationships between assets at scale. And I think that that's of value. Then knowing what context and topics knowing the context and topics at scale of lots and lots of URLs, of all the URLs, is incredibly powerful.